Hi, welcome to the Cates Group Podcast, Episode 4. Today we have Ben McAda with Mac Built Homes. Thank you, Ben, for joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Well, great. So let's just get right to it. So what I want to know is a little bit more about Ben. I know some tidbits. We've known each other for a few years, but let's let the audience know a little bit more about Ben and where you came from and a little bit of your background.
Okay. I'm from south of San Antonio, Jourdanton, Texas, and I grew up down there, and I worked commercial construction for probably about 5 years, and was heading down that road, and then realized I just kind of wanted to work for people.
Right.
And so that's when I stepped out on my own. So
Stepped out on your own. So when was that roughly?
2005 is when I incorporated Mac Built Custom Homes. I built my first house in 2000. So
Was that down in the San Antonio area? Or
no, it was right here in Brock, Texas.
Brock, Texas.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, in 2000.
So what do you think excited you the most about getting into home building specifically?
Just the fact of working with, doing the custom homes, working with the people. I love to see people build their dream homes, and that part's been a lot of fun. And so it's kept me going. That's 22 years of just building homes, and so I enjoyed that part.
Now you're a Texas Tech fan, I know, right?
I am. Met my wife there, and my kids went to Tech, so yes, I'm very much.
Yeah. I've seen a few posts. So.
Yes, we die hard.
Yeah.
Red and black.
Did you get a degree or anything that's related to what you do?
Yes, construction engineering technology is right close to the civil engineering at Tech, and it's geared more towards commercial construction. I can design a concrete building, or 6 stories, 10 stories, whatever. But that's why I really enjoy my slabs and doing things for the homeowners. My slabs are engineered to the top point that I know it's going to last.
Well, we know in Texas that's especially important.
Yes.
Foundations are critical. Done incorrectly, it can be devastating.
Yes, and Mac Built, we always we're putting piers in all of our houses. They're friction piers, but they're still there as an insurance policy for you to not have movement in your slab.
Great.
So
that leads into another question. So what would distinguish you, I guess, someone that doesn't really know a lot about the home building process and home builders, and maybe out there they see like your D.R. Hortons of the world, then they see signs of people they maybe haven't heard of that are custom home builders. What distinguishes you, and what are the differences between you and maybe like a D.R. Horton?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm just a small company. It's just me and my wife as part of the company. She's my vice president, and then I have an assistant. But being small like that, we just stick to the custom world. We help people throughout the project from the very beginning to the very end. And someone like D.R. Horton is going to go out and buy a bunch of land, and they're going to build 250 houses on that land. And they're all spec homes, different kinds of spec homes, but they're more about production. I'm more about the product.
I know I've dealt with, being in real estate, dealt with the big boxes like the D.R. Hortons and the custom builders. A lot of the D.R. Horton type guys, they will build just only specs. They will build some custom, but I know they're kind of limited in what they can offer and things like that. From what I know about you and some of your products, you're pretty wide open as far as what you can offer and what you can do for the customer.
Yes, so I'll start from the very beginning on if someone doesn't have land or doesn't have plans, I'll get them the land. We'll start working towards that. We'll work with the plans. We'll move all the way through the process, and so it's an agreement between them and me to be able to build this house, and so it has to be a good working relationship.
That raises a pretty good question. So how does that process work? Let's say someone doesn't have land or a lot. They want to build a custom home. They have an area maybe they're excited about. How would that process look with someone like you versus when they go to the D.R. Horton? They just drive into the neighborhood and go to the model home and just see what they have available. So kind of tell me a little bit more about that if you can.
Okay. First of all, they'd start out coming to my office in Weatherford
Okay.
on Santa Fe, and they would work the whole process from there, as in we would go out, find them land wherever they're looking, because that really doesn't matter to me. I'll build in a big area. And then once they get that, I will help them to design the plans next, making sure everything flows correctly. We'll estimate the project, and I'm a cost plus builder, so therefore you only pay whatever you're wanting in that house, the cost of that plus my fee, and that is what the total project is going to be.
Is that something that they can have a pretty good idea up front what that can be, or is that a little bit of a moving target depending on supplies and things like that that may have some delay issues?
Yeah, so my estimate is going to be on the higher end. So if I'm bidding against someone, it's a little harder because my estimate's going to be on the higher end, but the lumber will be on the highest point. So when we do the project, if lumber comes down, I had one client that saved $25,000 on lumber because the lumber hit that lowest point. And so, that's their money. That doesn't get used. They can use that for upgrades or not use it at all. So it kind of works both ways.
What I like about that is, so let's say it was another builder and they didn't do a cost plus, but they were figuring their price based on current numbers, and then they got 3 months down the road and lumber came down. They're probably not going to lower their price.
No, they're going to keep that.
They're
money.
going to keep that.
And a lot of people don't realize that, but at the same time, yeah, they're going to keep that, and they're going to move on down the road and make quite a bit more on that project.
And on the flip side, if it went up, they're probably still going to come back to you to get that difference.
Correct. Yeah.
So
it works the same on if it goes up.
Yeah.
They will work it into a change order or something. Mine is just going to be the fact of whatever it is, and we'll go from there. So.
Yeah. So you can do anything from traditional neighborhood with city sewer and water to septics to, I know in some of the neighborhoods that you worked with in the past, they have on-site sewer facilities and things like that. So you can pretty much do anything anywhere, right?
Right. Yeah. I've had some real tricky ones out at 7R on the cliff. I mean, there has been some really interesting ones, and it depends on what kind of soil it's on too. Texas is crazy. They have rock out in Palo Pinto County.
Yeah.
I built in Jourdanton. That's my furthest home, and it was all sand. So we didn't do piers there. We did a heavy structure, and that house hadn't moved an inch. So it's just different all the way around.
Well, so you named a lot of different places you've built homes. What areas do you currently build in? How far is your radius here from the Weatherford area?
I would say I'm mainly in most of the counties around Parker County. I will go out probably 200 miles if I need to, but I haven't really done that lately. So the furthest probably is about 50, 60 miles right now.
Okay, perfect. So do you build just specifically to a client's order, or do you also sometimes build spec homes?
What I do most of the time is I work with the client's money, and so therefore it's all custom. I have been thinking lately that I want to go ahead and step into and build a spec home. It's still going to be a high-end spec home, but it would be something that I can put out there and sell with the realtor of the Gates Group.
Well, I appreciate that. So if they start from scratch and don't have a lot, you can work with them. If they already have a lot or land, you can do that as well, correct?
Yes, it doesn't matter one way or the other. They can have plans and a lot, and I can start from there and estimate the project and move forward. And then once I get the estimate, we will sit down and go over that whole estimate, and then we'll sign contracts, send it to the bank, or they can pay cash, and we can move forward and start building.
Perfect. And if they have a lot already, that's perfectly fine. So what about the plans? So you just mentioned that they have plans. What if they don't have plans, but they maybe have something in mind, what they're looking for? Do you have people you can refer to as well?
Yes, and that's the custom side. We will design whatever they want. I have somebody right now designing one with a walkout basement in Brock, Texas. So you just never know what you're going to get, but I'll design it and we'll build it. So
So what about the financing part? How does that look? I know that that's going to be different than if you go and buy an existing home somewhere. It's a whole nother animal. So how does that look?
What I do is I have two banks right now that really I'm working close with. I will send it off. I will send them to get a construction loan through those two banks. If they have their own bank, no matter where it is, we can use that also. I just have to get pre-approved through whatever bank, and that's not an issue.
And that sometimes that's a different type of loan than just say a traditional FHA loan to buy a home or conventional
Yes.
loan.
That starts out as a construction loan, and a construction loan will carry it all the way through to the very end of the project, and then it'll change over to a permanent loan.
Will they then refinance it at current rates? Is that kind of how it works?
Yes, at that point, unless they have a one-time close for that construction loan, where they can go from from beginning to the end with that same interest rate. So
Okay.
there's some banks that do that also.
Yeah, that's cool. What about the timeline? Is it something that is something you can predict pretty closely, or is that something that's pretty dependent on the environment around you, whether it's weather, supplies, things like that?
That is a great question because it's something every builder's been dealing with right now, here of lately. I would say that 2 years ago I was building houses 6 months, no matter what, around 6 months, and then that has become now to about 10 months, and mainly due to supply chain issues and just little things that are occurring that cause construction to push out a little further.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that, even in traditional real estate, whether, like I said, like the big boxes, it's taken longer to build homes when it used to be. Even some of those guys used to build in like 3 or 4 months,
Yes.
Now, they're taking 6 to 8, months or longer.
Well, I can explain that in the fact, some of it, windows used to come out in 2 weeks. I could order a window when we started framing, and I'd have it at the end, and we'd put it in and go. Now, windows have gone up to almost 16 weeks out. Brick, if we don't order brick and windows at the very beginning of the project, we won't have them, when we need them. And so those kind of things are ones that are really being hurt by the supply chain.
Yeah, I can imagine. Any pitfalls or hurdles that people might want to watch out for? Things that they may not think about when they start this process, besides maybe materials and delays.
The biggest thing I see as a custom home builder is just to be careful out there. There's a lot of construction that may not use the piers, may not use wind bracing, the little things that it takes. When people finish a house, it looks great from the outside,
Yeah.
but it's what's inside of it that kind of drives how it's going to react the next 5-10 years. And I will have a insurance policy, a third-party insurance policy on my project that will be a 10-year warranty. So, and that covers the foundation, the framing, up to 10 years.
Yeah, so that's comparable with the big boxes. Then they do that as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
even with a custom home that you do,
Yes.
you can build that in. That's great. Any other thoughts? I mean, we've covered we could talk all day about the nuances of home building and the issues like, you got to be careful. Like this area, for example, we have water issues. You got to be real careful about. We could talk all day about these type of things. But any other thoughts that you think people might want to know about before maybe venturing into a new build?
I know that there's quite a few people moving to this area, and you're seeing it, I'm seeing it on the builds. I would say that right now, just know your builder and know what he's done, know what he's gonna do for you, and just kind of move forward in that aspect so that you can trust who you're working with.
Would they be able to, if they were interested in possibly looking at you as a builder, would they be able to maybe see a project of yours underway or maybe some finished products? How does that look?
Yeah, right now I have 3 projects that are up and framed, and they can go walk through them and look. We do everything with foam lately, vinyl windows, and what that's doing is, yeah, they can walk them, they can see my houses. I have clients from 5 years ago that'll show their houses.
Oh,
and
great.
so that's also one way to let them know how a house reacts in the 5 years that it's been there.
Yeah, that's a great testimonial that they're willing to still help you by showing their home 5 years down the road.
Yes, so that's kind of that working arrangement that you have with the clients, that it's beneficial. I'm not saying every time, but it's very beneficial to keep them on that good side so you can show it.
Yeah, I'm sure. So how would they go about contacting you if someone wanted to reach out and at least just inquire a little bit or learn more?
Well, first of all, my office is at Santa Fe, 1712, and Mac Built Custom Homes is my email, and then my phone number is 817-975-0533.
I'll go ahead and put that in the comments as well, and maybe on the screen so people can reach out to you and maybe learn a little more. So, well, I appreciate it, Ben.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Great having you, and thank you guys for watching. As always, if you have any real estate needs, reach out to us, the Cates Group, and we look forward to the next episode. Talk to you soon. Thank you.